Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another video at the Pharmacist Academy. Woo! So, in this video, we will be going through practice questions for the New York State compounding exam, specifically the IV preparations. Now, I posted a video of the IV preparations portion of the exam, but I focused mainly on the general approach of the exam, and I provided you guys with a lot of tips to help you succeed in that exam. So make sure you take a look at that video. It's a good introduction to this video that I'm doing now, so it will help you understand this one much easier, and you'll be able to follow along. So let's dive right into it. So when you get the prescription for the IV preparation, it's typically going to look just like this. You're going to have the hospital name at the top, the hospital policy, which is very important. I will come back to this later on. And you have the patient's information here also. Now, in the body of the prescription is where you have the drug, right? So in this case, we have drug Y, and it's 600 milligrams IV. And you're given it every 8 hours. Now, it's important to keep in mind that when it says every 8 hours, it doesn't mean that you're infusing the medication for 8 hours. You may be infusing the medication for only 30 minutes, and then you will change the bag 7 hours and 30 minutes later, right? Basically every 8 hours. Also, keep in mind that when they say every 8 hours, it means you're going to get 3 bags in 24 hours. But when you're doing these practice, when you're answering these questions now or even during the exam, make sure you do your calculations per bag, per 1 bag. They have the patient's weight here and height. Now, they tell you the source of the drug itself. In this case, drug Y is available in the pharmacy as a 500 milligram vial. And since in this case it's a powder, you need to dilute it, right? And they give you the diluents that are available for reconstitution in the pharmacy, okay? So in this case, we have sterile water for injection, bacteriostatic water, sodium chloride. And they also provide you with the IV solutions that are available in the pharmacy. And as you can see, there's dextrose, sodium chloride, both 50 ml. Next, they provide you more information regarding the reconstitution of that 500 milligram vial. And here they have reconstitution for intermittent infusion, but then down here they have for direct IV use. In this case, you don't care about the directions for the direct IV use, right? Because this is where you take the medication out the vial with a syringe, right? And then you basically shoot it directly into the patient through their line, right? Through the access device. So this is more of like an IV push. For this exam, it's focused on IV bags, right? IV piggy bags, intermittent infusion. The patient is getting the medication over a certain amount of time. So here they provide more information saying that you should only use sterile water for injection or bacteriostatic water for injection in order to reconstitute this medication. And in this table here, they have the labeled strength. Once again, the pharmacy only has the 500 milligram vials, right? So what does that mean? That means you don't care about any of these other strengths. You should only focus on the 500 milligram vial. Cross these out right away so that you don't get confused. Then they tell you how much diluent you need to add, right? So 3.6 ml to make a total volume of 4 ml, and the concentration is 125 milligrams per ml. Okay, so it's pretty straightforward. Here they provide you some stability data on drug Y. In this video, I will not be going over this, but make sure you read this during, let's say, your exam or like before you take the exam when you're doing practice questions. Okay, always read everything in the prescription. This is what we call a Trissel's chart, or a stability and compatibility chart for IVs. Notice it's divided to room temperature and refrigerated. Sometimes in the problem, they may ask you, what is the expiration time if this product is refrigerated, right? So in that case, you wouldn't care about the room temperature. You could cross that out. You're only going to focus on the refrigerated temperature, okay? And another thing you could do is you could also eliminate the diluents available here. remember, if it's not in the pharmacy, you don't care about it, right? Like 10% invert sugar and water. Like, what in the world is that? You wouldn't care about that. You don't care about lactated ringers because it's not available in the pharmacy. So you can make some eliminations right here. Then you go to the concentrations and you will notice that it's presented three ways. So up to 30 milligrams per ml, meaning that a concentration, right? The medication in the IV bag. The medication in the IV bag, not the medication concentration in the vial. So don't get that confused. It's the concentration in the bag. So if the concentration is 30 milligrams per ml or less, then this medication will be stable in this specific diluent at this with this expiration time, basically. So that's all they're trying to say here. They may also have a range for the concentration, or they may just have a number. So in this case, it says 30 milligrams per ml. Whenever you see this, it's the same as if they would have said up to 30 milligrams per ml, treated the same way. Next, you have the stability periods. One thing you need to keep in mind, if let's say you were going through the Tris's chart and you come up with two options, right? You have, let's say, sodium chloride that's going to expire in 10 hours, but you also have dextrose that will expire in 4 hours. Always use the longer expiration time, okay? No matter what, always use the longer expiration time. Another thing that comes into play is the hospital policy. Now, remember when I said that the hospital policy is very important? Well, yes, it's very important. You know why? Because the hospital policy always wins. And this is exactly what I mean. Let's just say you have two options, right? You have sodium chloride, okay, and it's going to expire in 72 hours. And you also have, let's say, dextrose 5%, right? And it's going to expire in, let's say, 48 hours or whatever the case is. If it's more than 24 hours, because the hospital policy says that 24 hours is the max. If the expiration time is higher than 24 hours, okay, so if it's 72 hours, you must still say that the expiration time is 24 hours. As long as the hospital policy is 24 hours, that has to be the cutoff and that has to be the number. Even if the table says that the expiration time is 72 hours, on your label in the question, you must say that it's 24 hours because that's the maximum. So now let's take a look at some questions. Which IV solution should be used? Well, you can make some eliminations right away because in the pharmacy, we don't have 100 ml bags, right? We don't have 100 ml D5W, and we do not have 100 ml of sodium chloride. So you can eliminate C and D right away. Then you have A and B as your options. Now, another thing you should always look out for is when they want you to find the IV bag, usually you need to know what temperature is going to be stored at in order to determine which bag that you should choose. So usually the question tells you. In this case, they didn't tell you. But sometimes as you look at other questions, you will end up seeing that direction, right? And so in this case, they will say, in this case, they said it's at room temperature. So you actually needed to know this in order to solve number one, okay? So whenever you don't see whether it's room temperature or refrigerator temperature, just make sure to look at the whole thing, right? Look at other questions in that same prescription. Okay, so now we know it's room temperature. So when we go back to our Tris's chart, we could automatically cancel out the refrigerator temperature, right? Because they want the answer in room temperature. Right, so then we make some eliminations here also with the diluents. We only have D5 5%, D5W right here, 1, 2, and we also have isotonic sodium chloride. Okay, so we only have 3 options now. Everything else is crossed out. Next, we take a look at the concentration. Now, this prescription is asking for 600 milligrams and 50 ml, okay, which comes out to 12 milligrams per ml. So we could automatically see if that fits. So that will fit with the sodium chloride bag because the max is 30. It will fit right here in this range. But when we come here, we see that the maximum is 2 milligrams per ml. Well, our medication in the IV bag has a concentration of what? 12 milligrams per ml. So we cannot use D5W and let it expire in 4 hours, basically, right? So we cross that out. We have 2 options left. Which one are you going to choose? Well, one expires in 8 hours and the other in 2 hours. automatically you have to go with the longer expiration time. So you would choose the sodium chloride bag and your answer will be B. What is the final concentration of this product? When they say the final concentration of the product, they're referring to the concentration of the medication in the IV bag. So in this case, it's 12 milligrams per ml. So the answer is C. At room temperature, this product expires after how many hours? So based on the bag that we chose in question number 1, the expiration time was 8. Okay, so we would choose B in this case, right? To infuse this medication over 30 minutes, how should the rate be labeled on the IV bag? So in this case, all they're trying to say is that to infuse this medication, right? This medication is a 50 ml bag. To infuse this over 30 minutes, right? To complete it over 30 minutes, how should the rate be labeled on the IV bag? Whenever you're labeling the IV bag, always label it in mLs per hour. Okay, you must always put the infusion rate on it, and it must be mLs per hour. So here they're saying infuse 50 ml over 30 minutes, so therefore you need 1 hour to infuse 100 ml. So here is the label for the IV bag. Now, do not think that, okay, I did all the difficult part, I did the questions, so the label is pretty easy, right? Don't underestimate the label. A lot of people make mistakes on the label, okay? They miss little things, okay? And any mistake on the label is considered a fatal error, okay? If you spell the patient's name wrong, that's a fatal error. If, let's say, you put the wrong room, right, that's a fatal error, okay? Or it could lead to a fatal error. Therefore, you don't get any points for the prescription. Okay, you're gonna lose all the points. So make sure you pay attention to the label. Make sure you double check it before you put it on the IV bag. You must include the additive, drug Y, and also include the dose, right? The amount, the solution, and also the volume. The rate always in mLs per hour. Please remember this. Even if they don't put the units here, remember to put in mLs per hour. Then they have the preparation date, expiration date, and the times. The preparation date, it doesn't matter. You could use the date of the exam, or you could use some random date in like the 1800s. Nobody cares, right? And the time, it doesn't matter, right? You could put 10 a.m., start at 10 a.m., ended at 6 p.m. That's fine. You could say 12 p.m. it started, it ended at 8 p.m. That's fine, as long as it's 8 hours apart, okay? And you must also include the doctor's name, and also that the fact that it's room temperature, right? If it's room temperature, you must include it on the label. If it's refrigerated temperature, you must also include it here. Question number 2. So in this case, we have drug A and drug B going into the same bag, and this is a 50 ml bag. Now, whenever you see a percent, right, it usually represents like an amount and a volume. Okay, so in this case, they saying 0.12%, right? The concentration of drug A should be 0.12% in the whole prescription, right? Now, the percent simply means 100. So in this case, it's 0.12 grams per 100. For every 100 ml you have, there's 0.12 grams of drug A. And the same thing for drug B. For every 100 ml you have, there's 0.24 grams of drug B. But in this case, you don't have 100 ml, right? You only have 50 ml, so you're going to need half of those. They also have the infusion rate here for you. And in this case, they include kilograms, right? So they provide you with the patient's weight in kilograms, so you multiply to get the answer. Sometimes they may give it to you in pounds. Please watch out for that. You should not be getting the question wrong because you multiplied it by pounds instead of kilograms. All right? That's a silly mistake you should not make. Drug A is available as 100 milligram per 10 ml vial, right? So that's what, 10 milligrams per ml. Drug B is available as 150 milligrams per 10 ml vial, right? And these are the IV solutions that are available in the pharmacy, 50 ml bags. Preparation for the IV use. Drug A must be filtered using a 5-micron filter. Now, when they say this, they're not saying that filter the medication when, let's say, you're reconstituting it, right? That wouldn't make any sense. You're referring to when you're putting the medication into the IV bag. That's when you should actually filter it. Okay, so let's say the medication came as a powder. You dilute it with, let's say, 2 mLs of sodium chloride. It turns into a solution. You draw up this medication with a syringe that has a regular needle, okay? You draw up this 2 ml, right? Or whatever the case is. You take off that needle and then you put on a filter needle and then you inject it into the IV bag and push the liquid in. That's how you filter the medication. Now, question number 1, calculate the amount of drug A in mLs needed to compound this prescription. Pretty straightforward, right? Drug A, they said the concentration was 0.12%, right? So that's 0.12 grams in 100 ml, but we don't have 100 ml. We have only 50 ml, so you need 0.06 grams of drug A or 60 milligrams. Okay, then you use the concentration of the vial available in the pharmacy to get how many mLs that you need. And in this case, you will need 6 ml. Calculate the amount of drug B in mLs needed to compound this Rx. Remember, drug B is 0.24%, right? So that will be 0.24 grams in 100 ml. We're making 50 ml, so 0.12, right? 0.12 grams in 50 ml. Okay, and that's the same as 120 milligrams. The vial is 15 milligrams per ml. You cross multiply, solve for X, you get 8 ml. At room temperature, what solution should be used to prepare the final product? In hours, what is the expiration? At room temperature, so we can make some eliminations right away. Okay, this is refrigerator temperature, so this one is out. And this one is out. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4 left. The solutions match the solutions that we have in the pharmacy. Okay, so we cannot make any eliminations here. Maximum concentration A/B. Now the A is referring to the concentration of drug A, and the B is referring to the concentration of drug B. Okay, so here they have the concentrations here for each one. So 1 milligram per ml. 2 milligrams per ml, right, for drug B. Okay, now if you calculate the concentration of drug A, right, if you find out how much you need of drug A in the dose, okay, and you divide that by 50 ml, the 50 ml bag, you should get an answer of 1.2 milligrams. Okay, so 1.2 milligrams of drug A, that's going to be the concentration in the bag, and for drug B is 2.4. So in this case, we cannot use this one here, right? We cannot use this one here because the concentration that our medication is going to have is going to exceed this, right? It's not going to be stable. So this one is out. This one is okay, right? 2 and 4, 1.2, right? It's 1.2 and 2.4, so this will be okay. This one we crossed out, right, because it's refrigerator temperature. Okay. This one is, right, this one wouldn't be enough. 1.2, 2.4. This one we cross out too because it wouldn't be enough. All you have here is this one here, which expires after 8 hours at room temperature. Okay. So sodium chloride, 8 hours. At the specified rate, how long will it take to infuse the 50 ml mini bag? Express your answer in minutes. Well, this one is pretty straightforward. So they give you this calculation here. When you do the calculation, you get 1.25 mLs per minute. And then you solve for 50, right? If it takes 1 minute to get rid of 1.25 mLs, how long will it take to do 50 ml? You should get 40 minutes, and that's your answer. Label, pretty straightforward, right? Like I mentioned, the drug name, the dose with the unit. Please don't forget that. Then the rate in mLs per hour and the expiration time. Practice question number 3. So we have drug Y, 750 milligrams IV every 12 hours. Okay, and to infuse it over 4 hours, this is what's available in the pharmacy. We have a 500 milligram vial. These are the diluents and the IV bags in the pharmacy. So for this here, we need to add 3.6 ml to a 500 milligram vial to get a total of 4 ml with a concentration of 125 milligrams per ml. And this is the Tris's chart. We will come back to this one. The vial of drug Y may be reconstituted with which of the following? Straightforward, right? The sterile water for injection or bacteriostatic water for injection only, because that's what's listed in the package insert. Okay, sodium chloride would not be part of this, right? It's available in the pharmacy, but that's not what the package insert is saying to use. To prepare this product, drug Y should be reconstituted with a total of how many mLs of diluent? Well, for each vial of drug Y, we need 3.6 mLs, right? But in this case, we need 2 vials because the dose is what? 750 milligrams, and the pharmacy only has 500 milligram vials. So in this case, you need 2 vials, right? So if you add, you get 3.6 mLs for 1 vial, so you would need 7.2 mLs. How many mLs of reconstituted drug should be withdrawn to produce the total dose? Don't get this one confused with the previous question, okay? So in this case, the dose is 750 milligrams. The concentration is 125 milligrams per ml. So you need 6 ml. Or you could just say, okay, we did 1 vial that was 500 milligrams. After reconstituting the vial, we get a 4 ml volume, right? We draw that up. That's 500 milligram, right? And that 4 ml. Now we need 250 milligram more. Make another vial. Reconstitute it. Take out only half of it. So you get 6 ml. Straightforward. Which IV solution should be used? What is the final concentration of this product in milligrams per ml? So which IV solution should be used? Okay. So right here, they're asking you to find the IV product that you will use for this. So in this case, you have to same flow, right? The same procedure that we've been doing. So you could start off by doing some eliminations, right? So in this case, they want the refrigerator temperature. In this case, okay, it says it later on in the question, in these questions, it shows up later. But just know that they want it at refrigerator temperature. So you could just eliminate room temperature right away, and you only have this one left, literally, right? Instead of going through all the work, you just did a quick elimination, and you have one option left. Okay. So you use 5% dextrose. What is the final concentration of this product in milligrams per ml? 750 milligrams in 100 ml, so 7.5 milligrams per ml. Right, so at a temperature of 4 degrees Celsius, right? So that's why we eliminated the room temperature. This product expires, right? So we chose this one, so 4 hours. What administration rate in mLs per hour should be placed on the IV bag label? 100 mLs over 4 hours. That's exactly, that's exactly what the prescription said, right? To infuse it over 4 hours. So the infusion rate will be 25 mLs per hour. And this is the label here. So question number 4, we have 2 drugs here, drug D, drug A. Okay, don't get tricked, right? Don't let your eye fool you. Drug A is the second one, not the first one. So pay attention, please. And here's the dose of each one. This is the infusion rate here. The patient is 40 kilos, so we could find the answer here for the infusion rate. Now, very important information, strict fluid restriction, right? So prepare the IV bag in the smallest volume possible, okay? So this patient is fluid restricted, maybe because the patient has some kind of heart problem like heart failure, for example. So in this case, let's say you had a 250 ml versus 100 ml bag. Use the 100 ml. You have 100 ml versus 50 ml bag. Use the 50 ml. And this is what's available in the pharmacy for these 2 medications, and they said that drug D must be filtered using a 5-micron filter. This is the Trissel's chart. Calculate the amount of drug D needed for compounding, all right, and express your answer in milliliters. They wanted the dose to be 33 micrograms per kilogram, right? So in this case, the patient is 40 kilos. You get 1320 micrograms or 1.32 milligrams, okay? The concentration of the vial, okay? That was 1 to 5,000 for drug D. This is the same as 1 gram to 5,000 ml. Okay, the 1 is always in grams. So 1 gram in 5,000 ml. The beautiful thing about this is that you could make it easier for yourself, right? You could turn the 1 gram into milligrams. So 1,000 milligrams, and you divide it by 5,000, and you get a concentration of 0.2 milligrams per ml. So that's how they got this. And then you set up a proportion to find out how many mLs you need. And you get an answer of 6.6 mLs, right? For drug A, the prescription asked for 50,000 units. The vial comes as 25,000 units per ml, so you need 2 ml for that one. Calculate the amount of drug D administered per minute, okay? So they provide you here with this. So in this case, it's 2 ml per minute. Okay, this would have been so much easier if you knew the concentration of the medication of drug D in the bag, right? Because then you could just convert to find out how many micrograms is going to be 1 ml, right? And each ml, so in this case 2 ml, to get the answer. But you don't have that, right? You don't know which bag you're using yet, but you could still solve for this. You have 2 mLs per minute, okay? But in this case, you're going to infuse a 50 ml bag over 25 minutes, right? In other words, in 25 minutes, the patient will receive a total of 1320 micrograms of drug D, as we mentioned earlier, based on the patient's weight. The bag has 1320, right? So if you infuse 50 ml bag in 25 minutes, it's the same as saying you infuse 1320 micrograms of the medication that's in the bag over 25 minutes. You solve for 1 minute and you get 52.8 micrograms per minute. In 24 hours, how much drug D would the patient receive? Well, the patient is receiving 1.32 milligrams per dose or per IV bag, the same as 1320 milligrams per IV bag, okay? So in this case, the patient is getting every 6 hours. So 4 doses in a day, your answer is 5.28 milligrams. What IV solution should be used? D5W 50 ml. Okay, and we'll go back to see why that's the case. And at the specified rate, how long will it take to infuse the IV bag? We talked about this already, okay? So it's a 50 ml bag that you're using in this case. Okay, and let's take a look at the Tristle's chart. Okay, now please keep in mind that drug A and drug D are made by these manufacturers, which comes into play in this Tristle's chart as we could see here. So for drug D, we only have heart, okay, for drug D. And for drug A, which is right here, okay, we only have it as Sanford. All right. So the first thing you want to do is you want to find out the concentration, right, of the medication in the IV bag. So this is what the concentration means. But wait, we don't know how many mLs the IV bag is going to be yet, right? You could predict it though, right? So here you have 50 ml and 100 ml. So if let's say you did put, right, let's say you did put 1320, and this is micrograms, right, not milligrams, okay? So it would be 1320 micrograms of drug D in a 50 ml bag. The concentration is 26.4. So in this case right here, right, you could use this, right? You could use this one, and you could actually use the other one too, right? 1320 divided by 100 is 13.2. So both of these are good to go. So let's take a look at drug A now. Okay, now drug A, you're adding 50,000 units. Now if we add 50,000 units to a 50 ml bag, right, the concentration is going to be 1,000 units per ml. Okay, and if we add the same 50,000 units to a 100 ml bag, you're going to get 500 units per ml. So these two are also good to go. So here you could use either D5 or NS, but we could only pick one. All right, so let's look at the minimum volume here is 50 ml, right? But according to this, you could use 50 ml, right? Top and bottom. And you could use 100 ml. Okay, and both of them are good at refrigerator temperature or room temperature, and they're both compatible. Okay, C means compatible, I means incompatible. So which one would you use? Remember, the patient is fluid restricted. Okay, so in this case, 50 ml versus 100 ml, you will go with the 50 ml bag. Okay, so that's how we ended up with D5W 50 ml. D5W 50 ml, that's the infusion rate. Okay, and this is the label. Okay, and that will be the end of this video. I hope I explained it in the best way possible for everybody to understand. But if you're still having troubles or if you still have any questions, make sure to drop a comment or you could contact me and I'm willing to go through it again with you or include more practice problems. Okay, so if this video was helpful, make sure to share with somebody else who could benefit from it. And don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more videos like this. If you have any suggestions on videos I need to make, please let me know. And until then, I'll see you in the next video. Peace out.